People who lost their virginity after age 35 or never did. What's your story? I was 35. Fat, no self-esteem, the usual story. I had long since given up on actively looking for dates. I was comfortable being single and had made peace with my life. Then I just happened to meet someone on a bus while on vacation and we clicked. Did the semi-long distance thing for a couple months before properly hooking up. The first time was predictably awkward. She knew what she was doing though, and I've since figured things out. Practice makes perfect and whatnot. Eventually she moved in with me and we got married. Still are. It's not a super interesting story or anything, but you asked for it. Your story gives me hope and glad you found her. Edit. Thanks everyone. Same. Moral of the story. Travel. I mean not right at the moment, but in general, yes. Worst case, even if you don't meet someone, at least you went on a nice trip. Too late, already booked my flight. Feo, I see you don't like to play games either. I'm in the, or never did, camp. Not much of a story to tell. Just too much of a recluse, and lacking self-confidence. So, there was never an opportunity and a few decades later here I am. No time like the present. Okay, well actually, maybe give it a few weeks. But then, get out there and bang. Never too late. No need to ruin a woman's evening. Bruh. The biggest bruh ever. 30-year-old male virgin. Never happened for me in college, despite being sociable and having a pretty large group of friends/acquaintances and being in the type of environment where it should have been easy. I kind of just assumed it would happen at some point. Maybe I would have been more aggressive if I knew what was store for me lol. Then for most of my early/mid 20s was suffering through unemployment/underemployment mixed with the accompanying depression, which made me very uninterested in pursuing relationships, was more concerned with staying alive. Got my first steady 9-to-5 job at 26, but kept putting it off because I was convinced I needed to make more money, establish myself, get my ducks in a row, etc. before anyone would be interested in me. And now at 30, I'm absolutely terrified to put myself out there because I know the virgin thing will come up at some point and I know it's not normal unless maybe you're religious. Like just imagining having to explain it to someone my age after 2 to 3 dates. Yikes. So yeah, good times. Edit. Just wanted to say thanks for the kind words and different perspectives. It's encouraging to hear other people's experiences. I definitely think I'm getting a bit too in my head about this, which I have a tendency to do. I'll probably make the decision about whether to disclose or not on an individual basis. I know even if it might make some hypothetical girl uncomfortable, it's not the end of the world and there will be others for whom it's not a big deal. Just have to put myself out there more. Good thing there's a pandemic going on. This may be an unpopular opinion, but I don't know that it's totally necessary to disclose that you're a virgin before you have sex. As a single woman in my 30s, yes, I expect that the men I date have had sex before, but I've never actually asked, and I don't think I would feel betrayed if I found out afterwards. I've had bad sex with men who had more prior experience and good sex with men who had less experience. Eagerness, confidence, and a willingness to be communicative can get you much further than learned technique, in my experience, since not everyone responds to the same moves. I think if I got to know someone, and they showed emotional maturity, and our personalities clicked well, then a lack of sexual experience wouldn't necessarily be a deal breaker. Just saying. Don't count yourself out just yet. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure most wouldn't ask. Not sure how I feel about omitting the fact. I wonder what other people think. Like if the roles were reversed and I found out after the fact, I don't think I'd be mad per se, but maybe peeved. There's also the possibility that it's so bad she would deduce the truth anyway, which is mortifying on its own, haha. And thanks for the encouragement. Maybe you think it would matter to you because of how much you've built up the importance of virginity in your head. In reality it's not that big a deal and I think most people truly won't mind, even if they'd be surprised. It's even a positive in some respects. They know you'll be open to suggestions. Rather than set in your ways, you're unlikely to be pushy or overbearing. They know you don't have a STD, etc. But if you don't want to admit it, you could just say you're inexperienced to set expectations properly. Girls think I'm gay and gay people think I'm ugly. A very large, very flamboyant gay man was hitting on my straight friend, trying to deflect the unwanted attention to me. Also a hetero male. He said, "What about Eki Jane?" The guy locks eyes with me and says straight to my face, "You're too ugly to be gay." I'm still not sure how I feel about that, and it didn't stop the guy from hitting on my friend. Lol, I wondered what depraved sexual practice Eki Jane was at first, before I noticed it is your username. The internet has ruined me. I think it translates to not sexual. 48 years old here. Never had anything to offer, zero self-confidence, faced like an orc. Never even attempted to attract a woman, never got further than polite conversation. Edit. Wow. I had no idea this would get so big. Thanks everyone for your words, even the abuse. Had many invitations to chat, but painfully shy so won't. Gonna answer a few questions and explain a bit more about myself in response to the general vibe here. 1. I'm straight, live alone in my own rented flat, have a steady, if low paid job. I can look after myself okay. 2. It's not about the sex as much as relationships. The loneliness is a lot harder to deal with than the virginity. 3. I know that self-confidence, not my looks, is my biggest problem. The orc thing was a throwaway comment really. 4. I have regular counseling and CBT. Problem with the CBT is that it makes you look at things based on evidence, and the evidence reaffirms that I have nothing to offer. 5. I'm very introverted. People have said it takes bravery to post what I did, but it's easy when it's just words on a screen and usernames, rather than face to face. 6. I have the typical divorced parents, bullied, socially awkward background. I'm that kid at school that tries to be invisible because any attention they attract is always negative. 7. I have few friends, but they are close friends. I get the same vibe off them, that there's someone out there for me, because I'm a decent guy. It kinda pisses me off that my female friends are amazed that I've never been in a relationship when they know what I'm like though. 8. I will never have sex with a prostitute. 99.9% of them have been abused, trafficked, forced into it in some way. I'd feel like a rapist. 9. I can tolerate being the way I am. It was much more of an issue in my 20s, but now it's getting easier. 10. Part of the reason I don't put myself out there is that if I did and got myself a relationship, I'd really regret not doing that 30 years ago. Sounds so stupid, but it is what it is. 11. I've never been happy. Ever. But the depression is tolerable now. I'm not suicidal, but I was in my 20s. However, I also don't want to drag a woman down to my level of misery. I don't think being in a relationship with me would be good for anyone. Some people are very into orcs. I mean, Fiona fell in love with Shrek. We can't all be Shreksy as fuck though. If you're Shreksy and you know it, clap your hands. Cheeks clap. I'm 40 and still a virgin, something I never thought I'd be freely admitting on the internet to strangers, but there you go. Basically, my parents told me from a really young age that I was ugly and weird and no one would want me. Any boy I did get close with, my mum pretty much scared away within a few days, then told everyone it hadn't worked out because I wasn't interested in that sort of thing. To this day I don't know why she did this. Maybe it was a control thing, or she had some kind of hang up herself, no idea. Of course, people at school picked up on this, especially at primary school, since my mother taught at the school I attended, and so made comments about my appearance in front of the other students, who gleefully picked this up as prime bullying material. Anyway, upshot was that by the time I left home at 18 and went to college, I was convinced myself that I was ugly and weird and no one would want to go near me. I didn't bother taking care of myself or making any effort because I'd always been told there was no point. So it became a vicious circle kind of thing. I'm by no means a beauty, but I realize now I'm not as hideous as everyone made out. Even when I eventually realized that my mum was nuts and I had to be my own person, the damage was kind of done. No matter how much I try to be confident now, there's always that big bit of me that thinks, do I have a right to use a dating app when really I'm such a waste of space, or doesn't want to try anything like Tinder or whatever because you need to upload a picture, and a big part of me thinks it'll put people off. People pick up on that lack of confidence when I speak to them IRL, and it puts people off, which then eats away at my self-esteem even more, to the point where I really don't know how to fix this. To make matters worse, I got breast cancer 6 years ago and had to have some pretty extreme reconstruction because of the type of tumor it was and the damage it did, so I'm now covered in scars. The one bit of my body I used to be proud of was my boobs, and now they're completely horrible. I know I've pushed people away and can think of numerous times when men were hitting on me and I either didn't realize or didn't want to admit it because I was scared I was interpreting things wrongly and would end up making a fool of myself. So I reckon it's self-isolation for me for the foreseeable future. Hi, I really think you could benefit from therapy because you can get some coping mechanisms to help with your self-esteem and your anxiety about your interactions with men. It's not exactly the same, but my friend had a very similar childhood as you. It was her father, and she was also made to feel guilty that she wasn't disabled like her older sister, but in just a few months I've seen a huge change in her. If you can afford it, give it a try. It might not get you a boyfriend, but it can help you feel better about yourself as a person. Came to say this. Therapy sounds like it would very good for this person. Honestly, the best response for nearly every single person answering Ops question. And in case you're in a place where you can't afford or access therapy right now but still need an outlet for your thoughts and experiences, try r/CPTSD, a sub mostly centered around traumatic childhood memories. It's been an eye-opening subreddit for me, and it has a great sense of community too. Wish I could give you a medal. r/CPTSD is my favorite sub because everyone there is so understanding and kind because we all grew up around assholes. It is a great sub, but be careful because reading it too much can make you feel bad. Small doses. Close bracket. My ex was a 35-year-old virgin. I was 39 at the time. So this would have been about 8 years ago. It just never happened for her. She always thought there would be plenty of time, and next thing you know she was 35 and I was her first boyfriend. I understood this coming in. It came up as a conversation before we became an exclusive couple, and it didn't bother me for the most part. After we were exclusive for a month or so, I thought we would get to at least a PG-13 relationship, under the bra over the pants, and she said how much it made her feel like a whore. I stuck in for a while, but that was nearly a deal breaker for me. There's one thing to be cautious, but if you're that uncomfortable with sexuality, then I started to get concerned. Boy, was I wrong. About a month after that, she was comfortable enough that I performed oral on her. I was content with the thought that this would be our sex life for the next year. A week later she wanted to reciprocate, and boom, off to the races. Without giving ungentlemanly details, let's just say the next 3 months were her wanting to experiment with everything that she felt was missing. Without giving ungentlemanly details, you put it in her butt, didn't you? I love how your username is relevant yet somehow completely not. Same goes for your too, kind of. Hey, you are right. Same goes for you too, kind of. This conversation was not my strangest fap, but it comes close. Thank you too. Oh lord, he comment. This, of all comments, is the one that actually got me to laugh out loud at work. I'm also snickering like a fucking idiot in a Burger King. I'm so glad I found this thread.